The reason businesses scale faster than jobs is simple. A job only sells your time, but a business can sell without you. Stix had no idea what that really meant, until one ordinary Tuesday. That Tuesday, Stix watched his boss make more money before lunch than he would earn all month. It wasn't because his boss worked harder. It wasn't because he was smarter. In fact, his boss spent most of the morning talking to suppliers, answering a few phone calls, then left the office before 2 p.m. But money kept flowing in. That's when Stix wondered, if working harder wasn't the secret to getting rich, then what was? Stick with me, because by the end of this story, you'll discover the one thing Stix wished someone had told him years earlier, before he spent years chasing the wrong goal. The next morning, Stix arrived at work earlier than usual. He clocked in, sat at his desk, opened his laptop, answered emails, attended meetings, worked through lunch, stayed late. Then he went home. The next day, he did exactly the same thing. Then the day after that, the same routine, week after week, month after month, year after year. At first, Stix thought this was just what adulthood looked like. Work hard, get promoted, earn more money, repeat. But after what he had seen on Tuesday, something didn't sit right anymore. So he asked himself a question he had never stopped to think about. What exactly is a job? Most people never ask this because a job feels so normal, but the answer explains almost everything. A job is a role where you perform specific duties in exchange for money. Simple. You give your time, your skills, your effort, and in return someone pays you a salary, an hourly wage, or a commission. That sounds obvious. But hidden inside that simple exchange are 5 rules that almost every job follows. First, you get paid for the value you provide. Second, you have defined responsibilities. Third, you follow a schedule. Maybe it's 9 to 5. Maybe it's night shifts. Maybe it's remote. But there's still a structure. Fourth, someone evaluates your performance. A manager, a client, a supervisor. Someone decides whether you're meeting expectations. And finally, your role exists because it helps solve a problem for an organization or society. Think about it. Teachers educate students. Doctors treat patients. Engineers build infrastructure. Software developers write code. Drivers transport people. Bank workers help move money. Different jobs. Different industries. But one thing connects all of them. They're exchanging time and expertise for income. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. In fact, jobs exist for a reason. Imagine if every single person had to build their own business just to survive. No hospitals, no schools, no airlines, no factories. The modern economy works because people specialize. Businesses hire employees because dividing work between specialists is usually more efficient than asking one person to do everything. Jobs also give people something many businesses can't promise immediately. Predictability, a regular paycheck, a routine, a sense of purpose, a chance to build experience. For millions of people, a job is the foundation that pays the bills while they build the rest of their lives. So if jobs are so important, why did Stix suddenly feel like something was missing? The answer wasn't in the job itself. It was in how jobs are designed. Every salary has a limit. Not because your employer hates you, not because you're lazy, not even because you aren't valuable. Companies have budgets. Payroll is often one of their biggest expenses. They can only pay employees if the business earns enough money to cover wages and still make a profit. Then there's the market. If hundreds of people can do the same job, salaries usually stay within a competitive range. Even highly skilled professionals face ceilings. Across many parts of the world, annual salary increases tend to be modest, often tracking inflation or staying in the low single digits. Working more hours may increase income in some roles, but there are still only so many hours in a day. Then Stix realized something that made him pause. No matter how much harder he worked, tomorrow would still only have 24 hours. And that meant his earning power was always tied, at least in part, to the amount of time he could personally give. He looked back at Tuesday. His boss had left early. Yet the business hadn't stopped making money. How? That question refused to leave his mind. Stix thought he understood money, but the next discovery was about to expose a difference so obvious that most people spend their entire lives overlooking it. And trust me, this is where things start to get very wicked. Stix couldn't let it go. For days, he kept replaying Tuesday in his head. His boss had gone home early. The cash register hadn't. Customers kept buying. Employees kept working. The business kept earning. The more he thought about it, the stranger it became. If his boss wasn't physically there, who was actually making the money? At first, Stix assumed the answer was simple. Maybe my boss is just lucky. Then he remembered something. His uncle owned a small bakery. Every morning, people lined up before sunrise to buy fresh bread. His uncle wasn't standing at the counter serving every customer. His employees were. Yet every loaf of bread sold added to the bakery's revenue. Then Stix looked across the street. There was a barber. Every haircut depended on one person's hands. If the barber got sick, the money stopped. But 2 streets away, there was a barber shop with 6 chairs, even when the owner wasn't cutting hair. 5 other barbers were. The shop kept earning. That was different. Very different. So Stix decided to investigate. He opened his notebook and wrote one question down. What exactly is a business? A business isn't just a place with a fancy sign. It isn't simply owning a shop. And it definitely isn't just making money. At its core, a business is an organization that creates value by providing products or services people need or want. Think about that for a second. The keyword isn't money. The keyword is value. Money is simply what customers exchange for that value. Whether it's a loaf of bread, a Netflix subscription, a haircut, or software that helps companies manage millions of dollars, every successful business begins with the same thing. It solves a problem. No problem. No customers. No customers. No business. That realization changed how Stix looked at companies forever. He had always believed businesses existed to make money. But businesses only make money because they first solve problems. A bakery solves hunger. Uber solves transportation. Amazon solves convenience. Spotify solves entertainment. The money comes after the value, not before. Then another question hit him. If all businesses solve problems, why do some stay small forever while others become global giants? To answer that, Stix started studying different business models. Some businesses sold directly to customers, like supermarkets. Some sold to other businesses, like companies that build accounting software. Some connected buyers and sellers, like eBay. Others charged subscriptions every month, like Netflix. Some licensed their brand, like McDonald's. Others gave away a basic product for free and charged for premium features, like Spotify. Different models, different industries, different customers. Yet there was one thing they all had in common. Every single one was designed to keep creating value again, and again, and again. Unlike a job, a business wasn't built around one person's time. It was built around customers, and customers don't stop existing when the owner goes home. But Stix still wasn't satisfied. He had discovered what a business was. He still hadn't discovered why some businesses explode while others stayed exactly the same size for decades. Because here's the truth. Not every business becomes Amazon. Not every restaurant becomes McDonald's. In fact, around the world, around 79% of businesses survive their first year, dropping to roughly 50% after 5 years. Starting a business is one challenge. Building one that grows consistently is another. That surprised Stix. If owning a business automatically made people rich, why did so many fail? Clearly, owning a business wasn't enough. There had to be another ingredient, one invisible ingredient that separated businesses that stayed small from businesses that took over the world. Stix had finally discovered the difference between having a job and owning a business. But what he uncovered next explained why one local shop stays on the same street for 30 years, while another grows into thousands of locations across the world. And trust me, this next discovery is where everything finally clicks. That night, Stix couldn't sleep. His notebook was filled with answers. He now knew what a job was. He knew what a business was. He knew businesses existed to solve problems. But none of those answers explained Tuesday. His boss still wasn't working more hours than him. Yet somehow, the business kept making money. The next morning, Stix walked into work with a different question. Not, how do businesses make money? But, how do businesses keep making more money without the owner doing more work? That single question led him to a word he had never paid attention to before. Scalability. At first, the word sounded complicated, but the idea behind it wasn't. Scalability simply means the ability to grow without your costs or effort growing at the same speed. Think about it like this. Imagine you bake one loaf of bread every morning in your kitchen. If you want to sell twice as many loaves tomorrow, you'll probably need to work almost twice as long. Your output grows because your effort grows. Now imagine Netflix. Whether one person watches a movie tonight, or 1 million people watch that same movie. Netflix doesn't have to remake the film 1 million times. The platform simply delivers the same product again, and again, and again. That's scalability. And suddenly, Tuesday started making sense. Stix realized his boss wasn't making more money because he worked harder. His boss had built something that could keep creating value without depending entirely on his own hours. Then Stix asked himself another question. But how? The answer surprised him. It wasn't one thing. It was several invisible tools working together. The first was leverage. Most people hear the word leverage and immediately think about borrowing money. But in business, leverage means using resources beyond yourself to produce more than you ever could alone. Sometimes that's money. Sometimes it's technology. Sometimes it's employees. Sometimes it's systems. Think about Amazon. Do you think Jeff Bezos personally packs every order? Of course not. Millions of packages move every day because Amazon built warehouses, software, logistics networks, and teams of people who keep the system running. Jeff Bezos' time stopped being the bottleneck years ago. Then Stix looked around his own workplace. His boss wasn't serving every customer. Employees were. The payment system was. The inventory software was. The marketing attracted new customers. Everything worked together. The business wasn't relying on one person. It was relying on a system. And that's when another realization hit him. A system isn't just software. It's a repeatable way of doing something so the business can keep operating consistently. McDonald's is a perfect example. Whether you buy a Big Mac in Lagos, London, or Los Angeles, the process is almost identical. That's not an accident. It's the result of thousands of carefully designed systems that allow different people to produce the same experience every day. Stix smiled. For the first time, Tuesday actually made sense. His boss wasn't richer because he had more hours. He was richer because he'd built something that wasn't limited by his hours. But then another thought crossed Stix's mind. If that's all it takes, why doesn't everyone just start a business? The answer was uncomfortable. Because not every business scales. In fact, many don't. Around the world, many businesses survive their first year, but only about half are still operating 5 years later. Starting a business is hard. Building one that grows sustainably is even harder. That's because owning a business and building a scalable business are two completely different things. Imagine a local restaurant. If twice as many customers arrive tomorrow, the owner usually needs more cooks, more tables, more ingredients, and more staff. Costs rise almost as fast as revenue. Now compare that with a software company. Once the software is built, adding another customer often costs very little. That's why many successful subscription-based software companies can grow rapidly. They aren't selling more hours. They're delivering the same product to more people. And then, everything finally clicked. It wasn't businesses that scaled. It was business models. Some business models naturally create leverage. Others remain tied to the owner's time. That single distinction explained almost everything Stix had been trying to understand since Tuesday. But just when Stix thought he had finally solved the mystery, he uncovered one final truth that completely changed how he planned to build wealth. And if you miss this last part, you'll walk away thinking the lesson is simply, start a business. It isn't. The real lesson is much bigger than that. For a long time, Stix believed there were only two kinds of people, employees and business owners. He thought choosing one automatically meant giving up the other. But after everything he'd learned, he realized he had been looking at it the wrong way. The real difference was never job versus business. The real difference was dependence versus leverage. Think about it. A doctor can earn an incredible income. A lawyer can make millions. A professional footballer can become extremely wealthy. Even CEOs who don't own companies sometimes earn more than business owners. So clearly, having a job doesn't automatically mean you'll stay broke. But here's what Stix noticed. If most of those people stop working for a long period, their income usually slows down or stops. Not because they aren't successful, but because their income still depends heavily on their expertise and active involvement. Now compare that to someone who owns a software company, a franchise, or an online business with thousands of paying subscribers. The owner doesn't have to personally serve every customer. The business keeps creating value, even while the owner sleeps. That's the power Stix had been searching for all along. Not a business. Leverage. But then another myth crossed his mind. If businesses are so powerful, should everyone quit their job tomorrow? Absolutely not. And this is where many people get terrible advice. Social media loves making it sound like getting a job is a failure, as if every millionaire woke up one morning, quit their job, and magically built a successful company. Reality is much different. Businesses are risky. In fact, many don't survive long term. Some fail because there's no market. Others run out of money. Some grow too quickly. Others never grow at all. Owning a business is not a guarantee of wealth. It's simply an opportunity to build leverage. A job, on the other hand, provides something incredibly valuable. Cash flow, experience, skills, professional relationships, stability. Those things aren't weaknesses. They're assets. The mistake isn't having a job. The mistake is believing your job is the only thing that will ever pay you. That's when Stix's entire perspective changed. He stopped asking, how can I earn more? Instead, he started asking, how can I create value that keeps working even when I'm not? Maybe that's writing a book. Maybe it's building software. Maybe it's creating digital products. Maybe it's opening a small business with systems. Maybe it's investing in assets that generate income. The point wasn't to copy Amazon. The point was to stop depending on one source of income that disappeared the moment he stopped working. Then Stix remembered Tuesday, the day he watched his boss leave before lunch. Back then, he thought his boss was simply lucky. Now he understood what he had actually witnessed. He wasn't watching someone work less. He was watching someone benefit from years of building systems, solving problems, and creating leverage. That afternoon hadn't revealed a lucky man. It had revealed a completely different way of thinking. And suddenly, everything made sense. Jobs are designed to organize human labor. Businesses are designed to organize value. One primarily rewards the hours you put in. The other has the potential to reward the systems you build. Neither is automatically better. The right choice depends on your goals, your skills, your risk tolerance, and where you are in life. Some people should absolutely focus on becoming exceptional employees. Others may eventually decide to build businesses. Many will do both. But whatever path you choose, never forget the lesson Tuesday taught Stix. Don't just ask yourself, how can I work harder? Ask yourself, how can I build something that keeps creating value long after today's work is done? Because the people who build lasting wealth rarely win by squeezing more hours out of a day. They win by making each hour create value long after it has passed. So, the next time you see a business owner making money while they're on vacation, or while they're asleep, don't assume they found a shortcut. Instead, ask yourself one question. What system did they build that allows value to keep flowing without them? Because once Stix understood that question, he stopped chasing more hours and started chasing more leverage. If this story changed the way you think about money, leave a comment telling me the biggest lesson you learned. And if you want more stories that simplify money, business, and investing using stick figures, subscribe to Finance in Stix, because the next discovery might save you years of learning the hard way.